This isn't Hollywood. This is real life. This is real talk. Real issues. All with a side of comedic relief. Brought to you by an old, retired, burned-out cop himself, who now has the freedom to speak about anything to support the brothers and sisters in blue. Welcome to Burnt Pork.
Welcome back to Burnt Pork is Chubbs, and got a good guest tonight. I'm excited to have him here. John Salerno. John is a retired NYPD detective, and he's done a lot of other things in his career too. So I'm going to let him go over all that. So everybody welcome John Salerno. There's some applause for you. What's up, buddy?
Chubbs. What's up, man? Thank you so much for having me on. I do appreciate it. It's an honor to be on Burnt Pork.
Hell yeah.
You know, from the moment I saw the podcast and I seen the name you had, I was like, man, this is a perfect podcast for law enforcement, because we are all burnt out, man. We are just fried.
Yeah. It's hard not to be these days.
Yeah.
The way shit is.
I retired a long time ago. I retired back in 2000 I got stabbed with an injury. So I got kind of forced retirement, but I don't know if I'd be able to make it in the job today.
No.
It's crazy out there.
Yeah. It's definitely a different world, especially, coming from NYPD. It's definitely a different world now.
Oh yeah.
And especially in NYPD, I'm sure. But so what after you left NYPD, what did you do after that? You were a hose dragger after that?
I was always a hose dragger, man.
You're always a hose dragger. Okay.
Yeah. On Long Island, they have nothing but volunteer fire departments. There's 152 volunteer fire departments. No paid.
No shit, I didn't know that.
No paid on Long Island. Yeah, Nassau and Suffolk counties are all they couldn't afford to pay firefighters. Man, the tax base would go so high. So most of the city guys, most of the FDNY guys, were all volunteers as well. They ran into houses in their own communities. So when they left the FDNY, when they got home, man, they would respond to alarms in their own towns.
What?
So, yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
My firehouse was filled with NYPD guys and FDNY guys. We had, the chief of the FDNY, Pete Gansey, was in my firehouse. He was a life member. He joined back in the early 60s or late 50s. And he was, before he became a firefighter in the FDNY, and then he rose to the rank of chief, and God rest his soul, he died at 9/11.
Wow.
But, he was a member of our fire department.
Wow. So every fire department in Long Island is a volunteer fire department.
Yep. The only like there's maybe now it's changed a little bit. Like maybe there's 4 or 5 that have like paid chauffeurs, just guys that drive the truck, but not many of them. And some of them had some paid EMS, but everything's volunteer.
That's crazy. So did you start in the fire department and then went to NYPD? That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I joined the fire department when I was 16 years old. It kept me out of trouble.
Holy shit!
Back when I was in high school, I was getting I was in a bad way, and I met up with some guys that were also members of the fire department, and they were like, "Hey, why don't you come down, check out the junior fire department, program?" So I went down there, and I met a lot of great mentors. Man, they were just amazing. They probably saved my life. And I love doing what I did. So I became a firefighter at 18 years old, worked my way up the ranks. I did 24 years, retiring as a chief.
Wow.
And while I was doing that, I fell in love with the community service. I fell in love with giving back. So I took an EMT class, and then I found out it could be a career. Then I went to work for New York City EMS, and they dropped this little white kid in the blackest neighborhood in the world over in East New York, Brooklyn. This was back in like 89, and it was the highest homicide rate in the country at that time. It was during the crack era. And the biggest thing I saw on Long Island was I did some CPR on some old people, some car accidents, whatever. Now I'm responding to shootings, stabbings, thrown off the roof. In the 7-5 precinct, it covered like 5 square miles, right? And they had one year over 450 homicides.
Holy shit.
In a 5 square mile area.
God,
that's how crazy it was.
What year span was that, you said?
That was from like 88 to like 90. And then
so like right at the height of crack and all that, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So we were running like crazy. I got a lot of EMS experience out of there, and then I took the FDNY test and failed that horribly, and then took the police test, and I got hired and went in 1990. It was one of the largest graduating classes in the NYPD. We had like 2,130 graduates in my class.
Jeez.
Yeah, yeah. Some departments here don't even have that.
I was just I told you that when I was on your show that my academy class had 5 people in it, and I
I know.
graduated number 1 out of those 5 people. I got a
All right,
certificate for it
hey,
and
one
everything.
is one. It doesn't matter if it's
Yep.
2,500 or 5.
Top of my class, baby. That's all that matters.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, that was when David Dinkins was a mayor, and he was bringing in his save the streets and the whole bit, and he didn't save shit. It was just a cluster. So I ended up working in the 7-7 precinct when I got out of the academy, and that was right next to the 7-5. So it was a brutal area. It was high crime, and so I got a lot of experience out there, man. I mean, it was Crown Heights, and they had the Crown Heights riots. Eastern Parkway separated the Hasidic Jews from the Jamaicans and the blacks, and they would always battle. And we covered 1 square mile, our precinct, just 1 square mile. And back in '91, we had close to 300 homicides.
Wow.
That shows how busy it was.
God bless. And see, that's
Yeah, so
crazy the way you describe everything. Like for a Texas boy like that, it's not. I worked in a city of maybe 80,000 people. The department I work for, and to hear that kind of thing, 1 square mile, that many homicides, it's like we didn't have that many homicides the entire time I was there. In the city I worked in, that's just nuts, man.
Yeah, it wasn't out of the ordinary to catch 2 homicides a tour, in an 8-hour shift, or a stabbing, or multiple robberies. They were all everybody got their fill, man, and I think it made everybody better. The cops better to a point. So as a rookie, man, you learn fast. If you didn't learn fast, you were going to get killed. So all the guys in the 7-7 were amazing cops, and like I said, you move up fast. So I ended up going. I was in uniform for maybe 3 years, and then I went to the anti-crime unit. I was in plain clothes. Then I went to robbery. Then I went to narcotics, and I did a stint in narcotics. And they found out white boy can't buy drugs, so they made me an investigator. Yeah. I got like cop stamped on my head. So
right.
Yeah, I could buy through peepholes, but I can't. I couldn't buy. I couldn't buy. But so I was an investigator. I did 18 months as an investigator in OCCB, which is Organized Crime Control Bureau, and I got promoted to detective, 3rd grade. When I bounced out of there for a little while, went to a homicide, did homicide, robbery, and auto crime. And then I took a stint in OCID, which is the Organized Crime Investigation Division. I hooked up with a team, and I did some undercover work. We followed one of the mob families.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I fit in a little. I fit in a little bit better.
Yeah, I can
in the
see
mob
you doing
families.
That. I could definitely see you doing that. You look like a made man.
Yeah,
for the mob there.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. And I tell you, I rather lock up mob guys than drug dealers any day, man. They're the most respectful guys when you get locked up. They really are.
Well, they know the game.
Oh my
they know
God, yeah.
what they're doing. They know there's going to be consequences for it eventually, and they know the game. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, they don't give you a hassle. They just, okay, you caught me, and they know it's a cat and mouse game. Yeah. Sometimes they win, sometimes we win.
Yeah, and I think they love that part of it. I think that's they're part of their excitement. I think they love that.
They do. Well, they love the challenge. They love the challenge. But you just got to learn to respect them. You can't diss them either. You have to show them the respect, even though they're committing a crime. You got to show them the respect, because they'll always give you the respect back.
That's I watch shows like that. There's a new one out on Netflix I was watching the other day about the whole, I think it's the Philadelphia mob or something. But that stuff's intriguing to me. Like I said, a Texas boy, we didn't have to deal with the mobs there. We just dealt with bullshit wannabe gangsters and that kind of thing. Nothing like the mob. That's for sure.
The mob in Texas, man. The Cowboys would kick them right out, man.
Yeah. Well, that's probably true, but the Cowboys and the all the cartels down here too. They probably wouldn't be happy with mob showing up down here, but that's a different story. All the cartels here.
That's another segment. That's another podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm gonna dive into this for a second. You were there on 9/11. I don't want you to go in like a whole bunch of detail with it, but can you give us just like a brief synopsis of what your morning consisted of that morning?
Yeah, it was Tuesday morning, man. I was getting up. I was actually already retired from the NYPD. So I got up. I remember exactly. I was putting on my shoes and socks, and I was watching the news. Saw the first plane hit the towers. I was chief at the time of the Farmingdale. I was actually the first assistant. I wasn't the chief. I was the first assistant chief at the time. And I got in my car, went down to the firehouse, started talking to the dispatcher, saying, "Hey, this is some bad shit." And that I was sitting in the dispatch room and we were watching on TV, and a second plane hit. When the second
Jesus.
plane hit, we did a all hands call out to all the available firefighters. And we started coming up with a game plan because we knew we were either going to have to go back and we were going to have to go and backfill some of the city houses because all those guys were going, or we were going in for search and rescue. So guys came in, we grabbed an engine in our rescue truck, and we headed out there. We got the call out, and we ended up getting there around, I think we pulled up to the ground zero around 4:30. We parked right on Vesey Street, and we went right to work, man. We jumped off the truck. It was just chaos, and it was there was no direction. It was whatever you can do, you do. Just get in and start searching for any signs of life. So we were there for a couple of days, and then they found Pete Gansey. Pete was running a command post. He had the first command post, and then he moved back for the second command post after the Tower 1 went down, and he ended up getting killed in a second collapse. So once they found Pete's body, we knew that was it. We got to haul ass back to our firehouse because he was our brother firefighter. He was a member of our fire department, and we had to start setting up some funeral arrangements for him.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So we get back, we had to consult the family. We had to be there for the family and everything else. So we ended up leaving Ground Zero a couple days later, headed back and started making funeral arrangements for to bury Pete. And then it was just we went back sporadically, a couple days here, a couple days there, sending in and out different crews. We mostly just, as they were finding firefighters and having funerals, we knew everybody was at Ground Zero, so we made sure that our dress blues were clean, and we went and supported the families around Long Island and New York City for the funerals.
Yeah. I'm sure, just some of the critical incidents I've been involved in, how chaotic it is. I'm sure there's nothing in this world that could have prepared you for that morning and what happened and that she had to deal with for days on end after that. I'm sure it's just one of those things that it seems surreal. Did it seem like this is not really happening at all?
Yeah, because I was in Manhattan all the time, man, and the towers were just they were a common sight. And to see the destruction of the towers, I don't think anybody was ever prepared for something like that. Even the most seasoned veteran wasn't prepared to see 220 floors of rubble in one pile, and try to make sense out of it, and then you're searching through everything. It's not like a regular building collapse. You're searching through concrete and rebar and trying to find any signs of life. And when the pile, when we were on the pile the first night, we were going through it, and when they found somebody or they found something, if they saw a boot or they saw a jacket or something, the whole pile would go quiet, and until they found a sign to life. And it was getting really discouraging until one of the veterans who had responded in on his own that night heard some voices down in that were trapped, and those are the two Port Authority cops that they ended up pulling out. So it actually, when they pulled those Port Authority cops out, it was a sign of, it was an inspiration that maybe there is more life in here that we can find. But there was no, days went by, there was no other signs of life. They were just very, very lucky, those Port Authority cops.
I just had to ask. I knew you were involved in all that, and I didn't want to. I'm not trying to bring it down. I'm trying to bring the mood down.
No,
but I wanted to. I wanted to ask that, and I was curious. Obviously, it's one of those things that when you're, I was in the military when it happened, and I got called back. I was home on leave when it happened, and long story, but it's one of those things that everybody's always going to remember. Obviously, you were there, but obviously everybody else is going to remember where they were when it happened, what happened. I mean, I could almost remember minute by minute that day in my life, and I'm sure it's the same. It's probably way more vivid detail for you, but I was just curious. Like I said, I'm not trying to bring the mood down. I was just curious about it, and hadn't had a chance to talk to you about it yet. And
it's funny you say that, because anybody who's about our age or maybe even a little younger, that was even somebody that's in their 20s, that when 9/11 hit, you ask them what they were doing that day or where they were, they can tell you exactly. I mean, from New York to California, you ask anybody, they'll say, hey, I was on the bus, I was driving to work, I was listening to the radio. They can really, and that's what shows like your mental health really remembers vivid things. And as a law enforcement officer, 9/11 was tragic, but so is seeing a shooting or seeing a bad car accident. The mind works in weird ways in different people. But everybody remembers where they were that day. Nobody remembers and what's scary is nobody remembers where they were on September 10th or what
That's
you were
true.
doing September 10th.
That's true. Yeah.
And that's the sad part about it is we take life for granted sometimes.
Yeah.
We should all remember what we were doing every day. We should embrace all those moments. We remember the tragedies. We sometimes forget the good times.
Yeah. And I had a buddy that posted something on Facebook the other day kind of talking about that, about your memory and the trauma and man, I told you I wouldn't go into this whole mental health thing, but anyways, it
all leads back to it, man.
It does. But when you're dealing with trauma, you're dealing with survival at that point. So there's a lot of things in life you don't remember because you were just trying to survive. You're just trying to get through the day to day. And so there's a lot of things in life that you may not remember and may be fuzzy and everything else just because you're dealing with other shit. You had so much shit pile on top of you that your memory may not be great about a lot of things in life. But anyways, moving on, we're going to move on to something else.
That's why we have such a, that's why, with cops and firefighters and even EMS, we have that dark sense of humor that nobody really gets.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like we'll be at a barbecue, flipping burgers, having a couple beers, talking about pulling a floater out and how his face was coming off, whatever. And normal people look and go, "That's disgusting." And you're like, it's just the way we deal with it, Nobody.
We're not normal people. We're not normal people.
Nobody understands our sense of humor.
No.
I remember I got a book. I got a homicide book, and it's crazy because it's just. I mean, it's. I don't even know why I have it, but taking pictures and I kept it. My wife, when we first started dating, she's like, "Why the hell do you have this book?" And I'm like, "I have no clue why I have this book.
Yeah.
It's just things that we did when we were, on the job."
Yeah. And it's the humor is a big part of a lot of things. And, I say that all the time about my show, about this show. I forgot I'm on my show, not your show right now. I forget where I'm at right now. But about this show is I don't want to be doom and gloom all the time. We need a break from doom and gloom sometimes, and a break from mental health. And good Lord, it's out there so much right now. And don't get me wrong, it needs to be out there. It needs to be talked about. Mental health needs to be talked about. PTSD needs to be talked about. All that. But shit, we need to have something outside of that too. We need to have something that's funny, have something that is an escape, and not. If you look online, there are so many Facebook groups and Instagram, everything else that's all PTSD, first responder. There's so many podcasts, and I'm not saying that it's wrong. There needs to be podcasts. There needs to be those platforms. 100% there needs to be those. But shit, when that's all you could find online, everybody thinks all cops are suicidal and all firefighters are suicidal. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's not really the case.
No, it's not.
We've all dealt with our mental health problems and PTSD and everything else, but that's not the case for everybody. It's not across the board. I'm not saying I don't have PTSD. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's not important. I'm just saying we need a break from that every once in a while. And that's what I'm hoping I'm providing to people.
Without a doubt. Yeah. And you bring up a great point. I'll flip out to another side of me, which I don't even know if you know this, but I got into that mental mindset with the doom and gloom and the whole bit. So my kids saw it coming. And this was about probably almost 10 years ago. 10 or 11 years ago. They saw it and they bought me stand-up comedy class sessions,
Sweet.
So I was like, they were like, "Well, you're funny. You can do this. You can do that. You should take some comedy classes." So they bought me an 8-week program for comedy classes. Yeah. So
I went. That's awesome.
So I went to Dallas and I took these classes and I loved it, man. So then I started doing stand-up comedy. And if you look online, you can look at the Comedy Cop. That's me. I started doing comedy and performed for events and fundraisers and
no shit
at Hyenas and the Dallas Comedy Club and, all parts around Dallas. And then I hooked up with a group called Laughter Saves Lives. And it's all about bringing happiness and joy to first responders and veterans and making them laugh. And, like I said, getting rid of the doom and gloom, but bringing it in a comedic aspect, So I've run to Florida, gone to a couple of different places to perform. It's a lot of fun, man. It's great when you can put a smile on someone's face.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's crazy. So you've actually done like stand-up comedy.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Why aren't you funnier? Why aren't you funnier then? I'm just messing with you, man.
I didn't say I was a good comic. I didn't say I was a good comic.
I told you before the show the reason I had you on here because you're a funny dude. I told you that.
Yeah, I didn't say I was good, man. I didn't say I was good.
I'm just messing with you.
No.
See, I can be a comedian too.
I performed, the biggest crowd I performed, there was probably about 1,200 people.
Holy shit! I
Yeah,
don't think I
yeah,
could do
yeah,
that. I
yeah.
don't think I could do that.
Yeah, holy shit is right, man. Because I definitely shit my pants. We were on a cruise, the High Seas Rally, and I opened for a hypnotist. They had,
Okay.
so he's like, "Hey, you want to open for me?" I'm like, "Sure, I'll open." And he goes, "You could do 10 minutes." So we're on stage, we're backstage, and all of a sudden, they announce me, and I walk out onto stage, man. And if you ever been on a cruise, those big rooms, and
Yeah.
there's people up in the tiers, and there's about 1,200 people in there, man. And I was like,
God.
and it's full of bikers, first responders, veterans, man. And it was
Screw that.
exhilarating, but it was the best feeling in the world, man. It was a lot of fun, a lot of fun.
As long as people are laughing. But you should
Oh,
have
yeah.
made
I mean,
you should have made the hypnotist go out first and hypnotize everybody to laugh at you. that would have probably worked out better.
yeah.
No, for me, I'm not saying for you. I'm not saying you bombed it. I'm saying for me, that would have worked out better. I'd be like, no, you get your ass out there and hypnotize all the people so they'll laugh at me just by standing there.
Yeah, you know what's good about first responders and veterans and all that? They'll laugh at anything, man.
That's true.
You don't even really have to be funny for them. They'll laugh at anything. You tell a fart joke, they'll laugh.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, comedy's changed. Comedy's definitely changed with the culture. It's real hard because you got, comedy used to have no boundaries, and people knew how to take a joke. People knew how to laugh stuff off. And what's scary is people don't know how to do that anymore. People don't, and it's like, Jesus, just laugh. It's funny. It's a joke. You look on TV and people are walking out of comedy clubs because you said something about Trump, or you said something about Biden, or, stop. It's not political, man. Just have fun with it.
Yeah.
Learn to have a good time. Enjoy the day, man. Enjoy the time you're out.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's this whole cancel culture bullshit and all that. And, when I started the podcast back up after I retired, I started getting a little leery of that. And I'm like, I don't know if I should say this or say that. And trust me, there's things that I want to say on the show, and I've kind of reeled it back a little bit just for that reason. And it sucks. And, I'm kind of progressing to the point now where I really don't give a shit what I say. Either you're going to watch it or you don't. If you don't, fuck off, go do something else. It really doesn't bother me anymore. But, so that's just kind of what it is. But the cancer culture is ridiculous. And it's gotten a little bit better. I'll admit it's gotten a little bit better.
It's getting there.
It's somewhat getting back to what it used to be. And I think people like Dave Chappelle and even Joe Rogan, those guys, they're bringing it back to what it used to be. They're trying to anyway. I think they're doing a good job at it. I think they're trying to, yeah.
But see, and here's like with you, man, as long as you're not disrespecting anybody, speak your feelings. As long, you don't have to be disparaging or disrespecting anybody. You can just say, hey, I don't agree with that form, or I don't agree with that person, but always speak your feelings, man. And that's what I try to do. If you don't like it, go to a different podcast, go to a liberal station, go to watch CNN. I don't give a shit what you do. But I'm not out there trying to disparage anybody's religion, your LGBTA, whatever you are. Because I don't care what you are. I respect everybody, and it doesn't matter what you do in your life, as long as you're not pushing it on me. That's cool. I respect that.
Yeah, keep that shit to yeah. I won't get into that either.
And they should respect you. And they should respect you because a lot of podcasts have that. They worry about what they're going to say, but as long as you just stay in the respectful lines.
Yeah.
Say Merry Christmas. Remember when we couldn't say Merry Christmas?
Yeah. I'll definitely say Merry Christmas. I'll say right now, Merry Christmas, everybody. That's coming up.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Say it again. Merry Christmas. That'll be good.
That's right. Merry Christmas.
Right. Yeah. We just want to say that's the rest of the show. You just want to keep repeating that over and over? We can. Yeah, until 20.
Yeah, but I think the tides are changing. I think people are starting to get back to learn to laugh and live in the moment a little bit, which is good.
Yeah, we need that. Not just first responders. I mean, everybody needs that.
Everybody needs it. Everybody.
The entire population needs that, not just first responders. First responders probably more than anybody, but everybody needs that still. So tell me about this 99% radio network thing. How did you get involved in that? Was it your idea? How did you come up with this whole thing? Kind of tell us what it is.
Well, like I said, this goes back to my being a comic. When I was a comic, I went on a radio show through Fishbowl, where you are today, back in 2017. This lady, Queen Sylvie, she had the best radio show out there, and she was a comedian. She brought me on, and from there, she's like, "Hey, you should do your own radio show." So I was like, "Wow, it's not a bad idea." So me and this other comedian did a show called Mad Radio, Making a Difference Radio. Everything about making a difference within your community, with some comedic underlining tones, just have fun with it. Just like
Yeah.
you said, man, have fun. So we did Mad Radio for probably 3 years, 4 years. We ended up getting show of the year out of 150 shows. We ended up getting show of the year
Wow.
back in 2018. Do you remember when it was out? It was I think it was Pennsylvania. 7 motorcyclists were killed by a drunk driver back in like 2019, 2000.
Okay, yeah.
2019. Some kid was driving a flatbed truck with a trailer, and he took out a whole group of
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I do remember that. Yep.
bikers.
Yep.
So they were doing a memorial service. They were doing a fundraiser here at Strokers. You know what Strokers Dallas is?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's just the biggest biker bar and hangout here in Dallas.
Yep.
So I went down there, spoke to a couple of biker clubs out there. I rode, but I wasn't a member of a club. But I went down there. I started just interviewing some clubs and trying to help fundraise and trying to help promote the fundraiser and a whole bit. And then I started bringing some bikers on Mad Radio. And I found out what the biker community does globally because I was so unaware of it. And the fundraising that they do, the community events that they do, they raise over $1 billion for charities globally a year. Probably a little bit more than that. Yeah. And these are blue collar workers, men and women out there who love to ride their motorcycles, but they raise money while they're doing it, and they have fundraisers and they do charity events. So I was really intrigued with that. And then I hooked up with a couple of other guys that were from a club, and we're like, we should do a show, man. We should bring this out and let people know what the biker community is all about. We were talking about what do we call it, and we were all law enforcement at the time. So, or past law enforcement. And we said, LEMCs, the law enforcement motorcycle clubs, are a good place to start. And they call that the 99% of motorcyclists. Right. 99% are law-abiding motorcyclists. The 1% are the outlaw clubs. And not that it makes it bad. They're outlaw clubs. They got a stigma attached to them. They get a bad rap, just like anything else. There are good guys in the 1% clubs. But, there are some outlaws that are just bad. But there's bad ones in the 99 too. So we just started uplifting all the LEMCs, all the 99% motorcycle clubs, and all the law-abiding motorcycle clubs throughout Texas. And it just grew and grew and grew. Before we knew, we had Italy, Switzerland, UK, Europe, all tuning into the show to hear about it, because there's biker clubs across the pond as well that do so much for those hospitals, for homeless veterans out there, for the needy. So we really got educated on what the motorcycle community does. And boom, it was just a niche, and it just took off, and it's still, and it grows each and every week. We get more listeners from different parts of the world, and we just love what we do.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun being there, and
we keep it light.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. That was, and I felt, that's the first time I've ever gone somewhere else and was in their studio and sat down, and y'all made me feel comfortable. It was fun. It was a good time. Man, I hope I get invited back sometime, but.
Oh, without it, any time, man. And Pipple, my co-host, she just won a co-host of the year. This was her second year doing radio, man, and she has come so far in radio. She's doing great. She really adds a lot.
Where did you find her at? Just out of curiosity, how'd
she
you
was
meet her?
actually a guest. She was a guest on my show. She is the president of the Battling Betties of North Texas. Now, what the Battling Betties are, they are pinups. 1940s and 1950s pinup girls. Like the old World War II, the Warbird pinups from World War II.
Like on the side of the planes and all that? Yeah.
So
cool.
They dress up. They go to events. They dress up as those 1940, 1950 pinups. And what they do is, like they'll go to veterans' homes, and they'll sit and play checkers with the veterans. They'll raise money.
Love that shit.
Yeah. They'll raise money. They'll raise money for the veterans. The Air Museum, they do special events. So anywhere there's veterans and stuff, or first responders, they'll go. These girls go. They dress, not risque, not bikinis. They dress in typical 1940s and 50s pinups, and they just provide eye candy for the World War II generation and the veterans and stuff.
I bet those guys love it. I bet they absolutely freaking love it.
Yeah, they do, and the girls love it, man. The girls love to sit with these veterans, and hear the old stories. Yeah. Every one of these women have the biggest hearts in the world, because it's not easy to sit down for an hour and listen when you're not a veteran yourself, but these girls will listen, and They comfort these guys. They play checkers. They cook with them. They dance with them. They make them feel good and wanted. And, because sometimes a lot of these guys feel like they lost their purpose in life,
Yeah.
and now this brings them back and it gives them a little bit more juice to live a little longer, So she was great on the show. And then when my other host left, I was like, Pitbull, man, you want to co-host? And she's like, hell yeah. So, and it was the best move we ever made.
Yeah. And y'all, great chemistry, everything else. And y'all do a great job at it. So everybody listening out there, you need to make sure you check it out. Where do they find you? I know on Facebook. I've seen it live on Facebook, but where else do y'all broadcast at?
Well, you can catch us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Sometimes I'll throw a live on LinkedIn. But if you want to listen to the just the radio and not video version, you can go to fbrn.us and listen to it. That's a global station. There are 8 million listeners on fbrn.us. So you can listen to it on your phone, on your radio, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. But we go live every Wednesday from 3 to 6.
And then, but that's recorded too. Like you can go back and watch other episodes, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go to our YouTube page, check out all our past guests. We were lucky, man. We had some great guests. I had Sammy the Bull Gravano on there. I've had Michael Dowd.
No shit.
I've had Michael Dowd, from the 7-5, the most notorious cop from Corrupt Cop in New York. We've had Molly Hatchet. We've had Molly Hatchet. We've had all the greatest bands. Lita Ford.
You had Chubbs from Burnt Pork.
Chubbs from that was the biggest one. Chubbs.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're forgetting that shit, man. I was just there. I will say though, it was funny. I told you when I got there too. Obviously, what we're doing right now is not live, and it's way more comforting for me. I can just go back and edit anything out I want, and not a big deal, And I was so freaking nervous walking up there, and I'm like, oh my god, like
this is live.
Yeah, just trying to come up with shit off the top of my head. I'm like, and I was joking about throwing up in the parking lot before I come up there. That never happened. I'll never admit to that.
We got cameras outside. I'll go to the videotape, man.
Oh, dude, that would be freaking awesome though if you had that, but it didn't happen anyway, so it's not gonna be on camera. So yeah,
what does suck? What sucks about being live? Sometimes I wish it was taped because if a guest doesn't show up, right, or if you can't have dead air. Dead air is like the worst thing in the world. So you're kind of like fumbling for things to say and do and try to keep the conversation going. And you can't just break to you can't just break to music because Facebook will kick you off.
Right. That happened on YouTube, didn't y'all? Didn't y'all just get booted off YouTube or something?
We got booted off Facebook on Halloween for playing the Married with Children theme. Okay. We opened up with the Married with Children theme. And Facebook immediately booted us off.
Yeah, because y'all were dressed like Peg and Al, right? Or something.
Yeah, okay. Peg and Al, right? And they booted us off. And it's funny. Not Facebook itself. It's all this AI crap, man. AI hears a couple of words and whatever it does, it does. So it's not like somebody's saying, "Oh, you're playing the theme and we're going to knock it off." It's just a computer generated thing, so it happens.
Yeah, and it's the same way with Spotify. When I upload this to Spotify when we're done, if it catches something that's copyrighted or whatever else, it'll boot it. It won't let me publish it. But so I got to be careful on my end too that, I don't play any music on here or anything else. But even, I've got some jingles and everything else on my sound pad here, and I'm worried about that. But yeah.
It's funny you said it yesterday on the show. Janie Balderas, she's a country artist, country singer. Uh-huh. She is now going to be one of our co-hosts. She's going to do a segment. She's going to do a music segment every month on our show.
Oh, and, cool.
She's a great country singer. She has some songs. She has a song called Whiskey and Jesus. She wrote it. She sings it. So it's her song. She gave me permission to play it the whole bit. So I play her song. I played that song yesterday. Boom, I immediately get those copyright infringements, this, that, and everything, and I got to write that whole thing. She gave me permission for this. So
did you get that?
She told me.
They eventually let you play it?
They'll let me play it, but then they say it's copyright infringement. And when I spoke to Janie about it, she goes, do you know what I play? She'll play her own songs, or she'll debut her own songs on Facebook, and she'll get the copyright infringements that she's got to.
Oh my god!
Back to Facebook going, it's me.
Yeah, that shit's a little out of control.
It's just AI. What are you gonna do? What are you? You roll with the punches. You can't get mad at it.
Yeah. Well, so I do have to ask you this, and since you're a dual guy, okay, you're a cop and a fireman, in all honesty, which one did you enjoy more? You have to pick one.
I
You can't
would
say
have
they both have this and that. No bullshit. Which one did you enjoy more?
been a cop. I would have done
Are
that
you
job
just
for
saying that
free.
because I'm a retired cop?
No. I would have actually done that job for free. You would have never had to pay me. I loved being a cop. That was just my calling in life. I loved the guys I worked with. I loved doing the investigative stuff. I loved going undercover. I love just protecting and serving, man. And it sounds like so cliche, but it was just something I was born to do. I loved it. And when I retired, it was devastating. I did not want to leave the job, but when I got hurt on a job, they ended up putting me on a medication because when I got stabbed during a search warrant, and it caused a lot of damage in my veins, caused blood clots and stuff. I had to now I'm on blood thinners for the rest of my life. So I got to take.
Yeah.
And they once the job said you're on blood thinners, no way. You could take aspirin, but you can't take blood thinners. It's forced retirement. You got to leave. So that sucked, man. I was like, put me at a desk. I'll do cyber crimes. I'll do whatever. And back then we really didn't have that. We didn't even have cell phones.
Yeah.
That's why they asked me for pictures. There's not many pictures, man, because...
Well, I knew that. I knew he didn't have a cell phone, but I'm like, surely he's got something that he could send me for pictures, but...
Yeah, but not on my phone. I got him I had him at the house, you know? Yeah. And that was cool, too.
Your photo albums with the dust all over them?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember in the squad car pulling up and leaning out the window, getting on a payphone to try to call command, you know? That was it. We didn't have nothing.
We had pagers. I remember the first agency I worked at, they gave us pagers we had to take home with us, and that's how they get everybody. So we at least had pagers. Yeah, little beepers. Yeah.
Yep.
We had that, and this will kind of give you an idea too. We actually had dash cameras, but
really?
the dash cameras were VHS tapes. So if that tells you anything about how long ago that was, we used to have to go change our freaking VHS tape out every night and get a new video. It was a pain in the ass, but so that kind of tells you how long ago that was. But VHS tapes are a thing of the past. But I would agree that, and I've never been a firefighter, but to me, being an EMT is probably different. There's probably some technical stuff you got to know that, but being a firefighter, what else do you put? Again, you put the wet stuff on the red stuff. Doesn't seem that challenging to me. And then when you're not doing that, you sit around and play video games or take a safety nap or whatever the hell they do at the fire station. There's shit they do at the fire station I don't want to know.
A little different. It's definitely an adrenaline rush. When you're crawling through, a house fire or a building fire, and it's heat, it's pitch black, and you hear the crackle of the fire, and it's like searching for a perp in a building, man. You're searching for the fire, you can't see it, so it's an adrenaline rush. It's definitely a high.
I'm sure it is.
But being a cop, there is no job in this world that holds a candlestick to law enforcement. It is the greatest job on earth. And still today, it is the greatest job on earth for all our men and women out there doing this job. I commend you. God bless you. I pray for you each and every day. But cherish the job, man. Cherish the job. And if you're in New York, man, retire and come out to Texas. We'll go to Florida, or Carolina. Yeah, because the new mayor is going to screw everything up, man. It's going to be horrible. It's going to be horrible to work under him.
Yeah, I've been to New York one time, and I didn't think I was going to like it. We went there on a vacation, and my nephew's playing a football game there. Long story, but I was like, I'm not going to enjoy this shit at all. And I actually liked it. I was like, this is actually pretty cool. It's basically like what you see in the movies and everything else. I'm like, that it's not going to be that way. And it was. I thought it was like we rode subway, did all that shit, and I never felt like scared or anything. I don't know how it is now. This was 5 years ago.
A little different now, yeah. It really changed in 5 years. In 5 years. Yeah, the subway is cool to get the experience riding on the subway. Now it's kind of dangerous. You don't know. But when they call New York the melting pot, it really is, man. You can walk 5 blocks and hear 13 different languages, which is so cool. That's cool. Like an amazing thing, man. You walk down the street, you meet people from other countries. You meet the most interesting people on the streets of Manhattan, and that's what made New York great.
You're worried about it now, though, aren't you? You're worried about it now. You're worried about it now, though, aren't you?
Yeah, because, when Giuliani and Bratton were in, everybody laughed at Bratton when he came in because they were like, you're going after the squeegee guys, you're going after the panhandlers. But what he was actually doing was he was getting crime at the root. And he was cleaning it up, and he really cleaned up crime. He had accountability for the criminals. Well, they went to jail. You didn't have these liberal judges putting them out. I mean, though some of the thing was a revolving door of justice, but most of the heavy crimes, guys went away, man. They did their time. And Giuliani was a prosecutor, man. He was a no, you do something wrong, I'm prosecuting you. With him, mayor, and Bratton as the police commissioner, it was good times, man. The city was safe. The city was safe. And it was fun to be in Manhattan. You felt comfortable.
And then this whole, I know the Daniel Penny thing and all that, and that would have never happened back in the mid 90s. Daniel Penny, the guy that choked the guy out on the subway and all that. That dude would have never been prosecuted in the 90s. There's no way.
Nope.
Right?
No, definitely not.
He would have never even been arrested.
No, because people would have stood up for him. Yeah. They wouldn't have chastised him. A lot of
everybody on that car in the subway did stand up for him, and it still didn't matter. But they were scared of him. You know what I mean?
Prosecutors,
right?
Prosecutors, judges, they would have stood up for him for stepping up. He would have been hailed a hero back in the 90s under that administration. But like I said, administrations change, and the culture, people bowing down and it was like Black Lives Matter, man. They were so worried about Black Lives Matter, and they're like, oh my God, if we say the wrong thing, we're gonna have protests in the street, and we're gonna have this, we're gonna have that, dude. It's like, so what? Let them protest. Let them protest.
Still got a job to do.
Daniel Penny, what he did was he didn't mean to kill him. It wasn't an intentional murder. He just choked a guy out. He did what he was trained to do, and he was keeping people safe on a subway. God bless him for stepping up.
No, I agree. And so that brings me to my last question. I've always wondered this. Are the guardian angels there legit or not? Is that a legit thing? And are they more of a pain in the ass, or are they actually helpful?
They're Curtis Sleva, he should have been mayor. He should have definitely been mayor.
Mm-hmm.
The guardian angels, they are definitely legit. They had their little ups and downs with reporting false crimes and stuff, but they were what they call an omnipresence, and as a cop, you know what omnipresence is.
Mm-hmm.
If you saw the group of red on the corner, right, you felt safe. The guardian angels provided, they weren't vigilantes. They didn't go out there trying to fight crime. They were out there, they made a name for themselves to deter crime. So if a crime did occur, right, they were there to be witness for the cops, to get license plates, to get descriptions, and if need be, they would jump in and save a victim if they had to. So back in the 70s, 80s, Curtis Sleva really did an amazing job with those, because he took some kids that were really struggling, and he gave them direction. And probably some of those kids are college graduates now, or in law enforcement somewhere in the world, because they got that taste of serving the public. So the Guardian Angels were a great group. You always felt safe on the subways, in the streets, anywhere in Manhattan. Anywhere you saw the red, you felt good.
So are they no longer? Are there still Guardian Angels there?
I think so. I haven't been back, but I think there are still some Guardian Angels out there. I think they are still not as prevalent.
Yeah.
But I think they still walk the subways, and I think some of the older New Yorkers still feel safe when they see that red Guardian coming down subway steps. So they know that somebody's there that has their back.
I always just thought it was cool, like all the pictures you used to see of in the 80s and 90s and 70s, that it was just cool as shit. And I didn't know if that was more like folklore, or that was actually like people actually did feel safe with him there. And so that's cool. That's cool as shit, man.
Especially the older generation, back then, the elderly felt so secure to walk to the grocery store and back, knowing that there was a couple of Guardian Angels on the corner, because they knew they weren't getting mugged. They knew that it was a huge omnipresence, safety. They did a great job for New York. They should have that in every city.
No, and I think some cities try to mimic that with like the Citizens on Patrol thing and all that, but I'm not even going to get started on that program. you got 70, 80-year-olds out there driving around a Prius with a yellow light bar on top of it, and it's like, but anyways, I appreciate them volunteering their time. I'll say that. I appreciate the volunteers, but it got a little crazier once in a while. But well, I'm going to let you get out of here so you can watch the Cowboys lose. I know you're excited about that tonight.
Hell yeah. You're
not a Cowboys fan, huh?
No, I'm not. Listen, I like the Cowboys only because I live in Dallas.
I thought you were a Cowboys fan. I want to talk shit to you, but I guess not.
No, listen, you can talk. I'm a Jet fan. I'm used to defeat.
Yeah. Well, I will say I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, so I'm right there with you.
Hey,
And it's a long story why I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, but
my
so it's kind of like being a Jets fan.
My father-in-law, who's sitting right out behind this flag right here, he's got the old Cleveland Browns jacket. He is a Browns fan to the end. He's a Brownie to the end, man.
Nice. And there's not very many of us out there, especially in this part of the country. But it's a long story why I'm a Browns fan. I won't get into that now. But I don't think the Cowboys are going to be able to win tonight. I'm just throwing that out there. But man, I appreciate you taking your time on a Thursday night here with me, and especially with football about to come on and everything else. And it's been a lot of fun.
Hell yeah.
And I definitely want to have you back sometime. It's fun just bullshitting and
vice versa, man. I want you to come back on to the 99.
No, I will definitely. And like I said, I enjoyed that a lot. It was a lot of fun, and y'all made me feel comfortable, and it was a fun environment, man. I definitely want to come back and do that again sometime. So,
well, we got some events too. We got some events coming up. So we do a lot of outdoor events too. Mm-hmm. So it'd be great to have you come out and do some outdoor events with us and co-host some of the events with us, because we can always use the help, man. The more the merrier.
Yeah, hell yeah. I'm all about it, man. I'd love to be there for it. So everybody, John Salerno, appreciate you, bud. And y'all make sure you check out the 99% Network and everything he does. Follow him on Facebook. What else you on? Throw out all your socials out there for us real quick before we get out of here.
Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. You can either go on to John Salerno or you can type in Sideshow and you can find me there. YouTube. Cool. Appreciate
YouTube, yeah. Everybody's got to be on YouTube. I'm not very good at YouTube. Yeah, I'm not very good presence. I don't have very good presence on YouTube, but I guess I need to fix that.
You definitely got to.
I'm still learning this whole game, man.
Yeah, you'll get a bit. Build up your YouTube.
Yeah.
More than you build up your Facebook.
Yeah, maybe I need to start working on that.
Share it onto Facebook. You won't get copyrighted.
That's a good point, I guess. Yeah, I guess I'll just start doing that, but
you won't get copyrighted.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Well, enjoy your night, and we're getting out of here. All right, man. We'll see you.